Hey everyone, wanted to share another match from my Treasure Cup run this past weekend at Carta Magica. So this is my queen versus a red-green law from OP01. I am going second here. His first turn he plays beige. Not great that he has a one drop, but pretty good that it's not a searcher. So I'm feeling pretty good going into this match. It's typically very favored for the law player. So I was a little nervous, but it ends up going pretty well. I pass my second turn with nothing to play. He swings 5k on his third turn, three down turn, and plays two more blockers. Obviously, don't want to see a lot of blockers, but much rather see that than, the Bonnie's out on the board. So it kind of tells me he doesn't have very much in his hand. We both had a mulligan, and so he was kind of stuck with it. I get my Dofi blocker, which is great. So just setting up those next five cards. As I said before, I think it's probably the most important thing you can do as a queen player, and I like to do that as much as possible, which is why I run an additional 4 copies of the Perona relative to the two that you see most times. And then I pass there. Not swinging in, don't want to give him too many resources, especially that I see that he's just playing blockers back to back. He goes 7k now, so starting to do bigger swings. I use that opportunity to drop 2 cards, so the Beige and the Boa Hancock. And then he plays the Zorro, choosing not to swing with the Zorro. Maybe a little interesting just because he had so many blockers. Very unlucky. He was going to lose it, but I think he really just wants to get to those 5 characters, especially since I wasn't swinging into life, giving him more resources. I just play Red Rock right away. So use all my Dawn. I'm not worried about any massive drops. If you think about it, most cards that Law would run would top out at that 5 Dawn. So a Red Rock is just a more expensive 3,000 Worlds for this matchup. So getting rid of that attacker, really good for me. And once again, not attacking into life. I'm waiting until I have my big bodies on board so that I am able to do some real damage and not just feeding his hand and kind of setting myself up to lose the game. He does another 7k swing. I end up taking this one, no trigger, and then he plays his Rush Luffy and swings with this one. So I think he learned that from his last turn. 6k, I counter out with a 2k, and now I'm on my 8 Dawn turn. So right off the bat, I just tap all 8 Dawn, Katakuri that Luffy, put him at the bottom of the life. Another answer right away for his threats. So I am feeling pretty good. I'm at 2 life. My hand is pretty large, but I have a blocker on board. I have my first large body available, and so I'm starting to think about how I can heal in the upcoming turns. Next thing he does is Otama. He does it on my Katakuri, where he's just no. He might actually do it on my Dofi blocker. Yep, and then he visits it. So that removes my blocker, and he goes 8k into life. So another big swing into life. I think about it. I give him 3 cards. I want to start healing, so I'm willing to kind of drop the cards to ensure that I can get that heal off. He picks up his Otama, plays the Law, and then or he picks up his Vista, plays the Law, and then Otama for Vista with the Law effect. And then I, for 9 Dawn, immediately Mihawk the Law. So he's just having a very unfortunate game right now. I have everything I really need. I was at 2 cards because I dumped them last turn, and I could heal this turn. And so now I'm back at 3 life. I have Katakuri, I have Mihawk, and I have answered 3 of his threats at this point: Zoro, Luffy, and the Law Blocker. His hand size is not super large because he hasn't searched at all. And now he's just going to start going wide. So 5k on the Vista. I give him 1k, down to 1 card in hand. He's thinking about it. I can see he has a Haruta there, so we're both guilty of bleeding our hand a little bit. He plays that Haruta, uses Arrested Dawn, so it's good for his efficiency. And now with the Fasa, I take that, no trigger, down to 2 life. He is still at 4 life now. And I'm down to 1 life now with 3 cards in hand. Not worried about losing this turn. There was some kind of a play here that would give him 2 attacks, but he does play that restand loss, so I know he has it. And it is on the board, so better on the board than in his hand for a really big double swing. And then I immediately Dofi blocker. So once again, now setting up my heal. Yep, and it looks like they don't even really make that many changes. I think the heal probably is a blocker automatically, and then maybe shuffled one or two cards around. Put it back on the top, and with 7 Dawn left, I put 2 on lead, swing into the Vista, heal 1. Yep. So really just trying to make sure he has nothing that he can do to me next turn. Into the Fossa. So now his board is back down to 3. He'll have to play 2 characters to use leader ability, and then I do actually start going for life. So I give him the 1 card there, take 1 life. Maybe a little premature, but with Law you can never really be too careful. He can start using his ability pretty effectively and just hit me for a lot, and so I want to start putting some pressure on him. That is his first search of the game, 2 down for Bonnie. So he has just, and that whiffs. So he's just been having a really, really rough game. I think this is as good as it can get for a Queen player in this matchup. It's typically not favored. This is post bans, so he can't run the Namis and the Dodons. And so Law, I think in general, just kind of loses some of that consistency. But even despite that, this is just a really, really favorable run for me. He puts the Don under his Restand Law, bringing it up to 7K, thinking about his swings, goes all the way at 9, and it's not at a character. He's going at life. So 9K at life, pretty tall. It is a Sanji, and that is my first trigger of the game, I believe. I pitched Sogeking for it, block with the Doflamingo, so down to 1 life. Should be 2 cards in hand, 1 card on board, and time to restand. So now I can swing at the Bonnie, I can swing at the Law. The Bonnie is did not get any cards, so I'm feeling pretty good. And I Yamato. So Yamato, the Haruda, stopping that extra Don per turn, and heal again. And now I'm swinging into the Law, I believe, or maybe that's clearing the body there. Yep. And then Katakuri into the Law. And he's thinking about it. He lets that go, and then into life now once more. Not concerned about losing these bodies at this point. He has pretty much nothing on board. If you lose 1, I have 2 more. I probably have others coming either in hand or in life from that scry earlier. So really not concerned about losing my top end and losing access to that heal. It is looking very, very poor for the Law here. He does not have a lot of characters on board, not a lot of cards in hand. Down to 2 life. We do know that last life is Rush Luffy, which is still very powerful in this matchup, but not seeing searches and then whiffing on the only search he did was pretty brutal for him. He's thinking about his play. So 9K right off the bat. Take that. No trigger. Down to 2 life again. He plays another blocker Law. Lifts the beige. Puts down a Fossa. Puts down the beige. So a pretty good wall of blockers. I think that definitely buys him some time, but does not prevent him from winning or does not put him in a better position to win the game, but just gives him kind of a little bit more space to breathe. And then the second Mihawk, put the Law on the bottom. So I am really just kind of removing everything he's playing right now. The mulligan was very much my favor. Scrying twice was very much in my favor. Getting the cards exactly how I wanted them. 2Ks with the Otama, so that's off the table now. 8K, he gets a Zoro there. A little hand bleed. And then I know that last life is Rush Luffy. 9K with the Mihawk. 9K with the Yamato. He blocks once. And so this game is pretty much done. I have 2 life. I have a blocker. He has a Rush Luffy in hand. He has a Zoro. But I believe I have 3 cards in hand. Yep, I have 3 cards in hand. So even if he played Zoro and Rush Luffy, unless he got one of them off with leader ability, which, I mean, 2 Don there and then a couple Don to play those other cards, it's unlikely he can get big swings in. And it's with the blocker up, it's pretty rare that he'll go all the way through. So I counter out of that one. Gumgum Brain and a Yamato to get to 8k. So that's one of his swings completely gone. 5k with the Zoro. I take that. He only has, I think, 6 down left. I'm not concerned about a Luffy restand. 3,000 worlds of Zoro, and then yeah, he just scoops. There's really no route here.